Well, good morning and a blessed Easter to you all. This is Jonathan Gunlock with the Grace SF Project. And however you are spending this holy day, I wanted to leave you with just a short reflection on resurrection and how it relates to the day-to-day of regular life. You know, I do believe that Jesus' death on the cross and his resurrection are historic events. I believe they really happened in real history about 2,000 years ago, but those events are also shrouded in great mystery. And they're loaded with layers of meaning. Something both terrible and miraculous. Terrible and miraculous happened in Jerusalem long ago that permanently and cosmically changed the universe. It has permanent and cosmic implications. This Jesus, the one in whom the fullness of God dwelled, voluntarily suffered a terrible death on a cross to put an end to all sacrifice, to put an end to all scapegoating, and to show that God was willing to enter into the absolute darkest and hardest parts of human existence and suffering, that God was willing and wanting to be that close to us. And it was a scandal. I mean, it was the scandal of all scandals, the death of God on a cross. It defies all reason. It's something that should never happen, but somehow it also opens new life and a new path of life for us all. So while the cross and the resurrection are historic and real, they are also loaded with mystery. For instance, when Jesus is resurrected, he's different. He's not the same. He's been transformed, and over again, his disciples see him, but they don't recognize him. They don't know who he is, at least not at first. In the Gospel of John, it talks about the first disciple to see him, Mary Magdalene. When she saw him, she thought Jesus was just the cemetery gardener until he called her by her name. Mary, he said, and when she heard her name, she recognized his voice, she recognized his heart as the one who could only be her Jesus. Even though he clearly didn't look like Jesus, he looked like the gardener. And it's not hard to imagine that he may have, in fact, been the gardener, tending the grounds, beautifying the tombs, bringing beauty into a place of death. It sounds like something Jesus might do. So this historic event, a historic event of death and resurrection, it was terrible and beautiful and mysterious, and it has continuing permanent cosmic implications that we could really spend a lifetime, and we will spend our lifetimes exploring and unpacking. But as time goes on, I'm personally coming to also see the cross and the resurrection as an axis in time that keeps reverberating through every day and even every experience of our lives. As I get older, I want to understand this more and more. I want to understand what the cross and the resurrection mean for daily life, for the suffering and the renewal and the growth that we experience now in this life. John O'Donohue powerfully touches on this, where he says, "The cross is a unique axis in time. It is where time and timelessness intersect. All past, present, and future pain were physically carried up the hill of Calvary in this cross. This darkness is carried up the hill so that it could face the new dawn of resurrection and become transfigured. But the cross is not an external object that only belongs far away on a hill in Jerusalem. Rather, the shape of the cross is internal to the human heart. Every heart has a cruciform shape. Every heart has a cruciform shape. And if you want, you can imagine the shape of the cross running through your heart, as if the vertical beam is your heart's continual conversation with the divine, and the horizontal beam is your heart's continual conversation with all the complexities and sufferings of this life. And where those two beams intersect in your heart, where they cross, where those two conversations intersect, right there in that point is the point of transformation and healing. And right there is where the spark of resurrection possibility resides. O'Donohue continues. He says, the promise to each one of us is that we will never be called to walk the lonely path of suffering without seeing the footprints ahead of us, which lead eventually over the brow of the hill where resurrection awaits us. Behind the darkness of suffering, a subtle brightening often manifests itself. 2 lines in a poem by Philippe Jacotet echo this. He says, love, like fire, can only reveal its brightness on the failure and the beauty of burnt wood. I want to repeat that. Love, like fire, can only reveal its brightness on the failure and the beauty of burnt wood. The marks and the wounds that suffering leave on us are eventually places of beauty. And as Nadia Bolz-Weber says so succinctly, the Christian faith, while wildly misrepresented in so much of American culture, is really about death and resurrection. It's about death and resurrection. It's about how God continues to reach into the graves we dig for ourselves and pulls us out, giving us new life in ways both dramatic and small. And so, friends, my prayer for us this Easter season is that we can learn to see the slow, subtle flame of resurrection in all of the complexities and struggles of daily life, that we would learn to recognize the cruciform pattern in our hearts and allow our struggles and our sufferings to be placed in conversation with the resurrecting power of the divine, and that in our suffering, we would learn to recognize the voice of Jesus calling us by our name, saying, follow me over that hill of Calvary into the place of resurrection and healing. And if you want to hear a powerful story, a powerful testimony of how this everyday resurrection plays out in real life, I'd strongly encourage you to watch the second video I'm posting this Easter Sunday. It's of a pastor and spiritual director named Juanita Rasmus, and she details her resurrection from deep, extreme burnout and depression. And I won't say much more about it now, but it's a powerful and vulnerable story, and I won't be surprised if you shed a few tears like I did when I watched it. You can see it, you should see it, posted on our YouTube page, and please email me if you have any problem at all finding it, or if there's anything at all you would like to talk about this Easter week. May the power of the resurrection meet you this week in new and surprising ways. Amen.